Men are not dumb. Men are not stupid. You're being manipulated. They don't want Pearl. Pearl isn't a conquest. They want to take the Juilliard-trained ballerina and make her dance in the field with the cows.
Ballerina Farm Story has revealed how societal expectations and patriarchal pressure has forced this young woman to abandon her career and conform to traditional gender roles. Trading her pointy shoes for plowshares, she has become a symbol of the devastating consequences of our society. A society who prioritizes autonomy over obedience. A society who also prioritizes traditional gender roles over any ambition you can ever have. Let us talk about the Ballerina Farm Story. Let us talk about how patriarchy has uprooted this woman's ambition, and most importantly, let us hear what people have to say about this.
Men are not dumb. Men are not stupid. You're being manipulated. They don't want Pearl. Pearl isn't a conquest. They want to take the Juilliard-trained ballerina and make her dance in the field with the cows. There's no reason she couldn't be farming in Greece or wherever the fuck she wants to be, right? There's no reason she couldn't have kept her fucking ballet studio. But no, now it's for the children, right? There's no reason she couldn't have a nanny. There was no reason she couldn't have had a hospital birth and epidurals. She doesn't have these things because he doesn't want her to have these things. It was, is, and always will be about the subjugation of women. And for some reason, y'all just aren't grasping it. The cruelty is the fucking point, y'all. They know. They know. They fucking know. Men are not dumb. Men are not stupid. You're being manipulated.
If you women think you're going to marry these rich men like this, these conservative white men, and that they're going to fly you around the world and they're going to buy you fancy cars and fancy houses, they're not. They're not. They're not going to buy anything that's not an investment that's going to make them money. They're not. So if you women think you're going to marry these men and live this great life and have these kids and be happily ever after, you're not.
I have never been asked to talk about something more than I've been asked to talk about this Ballerina Farm situation. Summary that I can get from the article, there are many key points. I don't have a lot to add because it's the conclusion's quite obvious to me. But one thing I'd like to bring up is the author is saying that she is confused and frustrated as to why she's not getting more individual time with Hannah. But in the trad life lifestyle, the individualism of the mother and the wife doesn't exist anymore. In most cases, you are an extension of your family. You do not get to be an individual. When you are cooking and cleaning and caring for 8 children, at the insistence of your husband who insisted that you married him after 3 months of knowing him, you're no longer an individual. That reality is gone. And this is the kind of dynamic, this is the kind of life that the majority of women experience for all of time. It's only until very recently that we have been introduced to and have since taken advantage of or taken for granted the kind of lifestyle that the modern woman gets to enjoy. That of individualism and individual self-expression and individual career and individual ambitions. But that is not something that existed for women for a very long time. She thought she was going to get one-on-one with Hannah, but Hannah is a sub-character. Like, there's mother, wife, and then Hannah's down here. She's been buried beneath these other identities because that's what they were designed to do. I'm not saying that being a wife and mother inherently means that you sacrifice your identity, but when you are the kind of wife and mother who sacrificed your dreams and goals and ambitions to be a wife and mother at the insistence of your husband, and then you pour all of your time and all of your energy and all of your effort into caring for and raising a bunch of children, no, you don't have time or energy for yourself anymore. You forfeit your identity. Wives and mothers in that context, in like a Mormon context or in like a traditional context, we're thinking about even like, you know, before the 1960s, before women worked at all or wasn't normalized for women to work. It's glorified servitude. It's glorified slavery. It's a glorified working position. You are a worker. And we all need to be very careful about the glamorization of that kind of archaic lifestyle and ideology, because there are women who were in that position before, not by choice, but because that was what they were forced into. And they dreamed. Really take a moment and sit right now. Think about how those women who had no other choice but to do what this woman's doing dreamed of having the ability to have their own apartment and to make their own money and to wear the clothes they wanted to wear, and to have female friendships and relationships, and choose to be child free, and choose not to get married, or choose not to be in a relationship, or choose not to have a heterosexual relationship. The privileges that we enjoy, we take for granted. I don't think we fully understand, realize, or appreciate how fortunate we are to be living in the times that we are. And we need to have a lot of empathy for these women while also not glamorizing the lifestyles that they put online.
Currently, the Ballerina Farm is a huge social media account with a woman named Hannah Newman, her husband, and 8 children. In fact, they have a huge social media following. I think 9 point something million on TikTok, and I can't remember how much on YouTube. She used to dream of becoming a ballerina until she met her husband, who, by the way, comes from a very wealthy family that owns tons of airlines. However, her career became backseated once she got married to her husband, and it is also worthy to note that she was enrolled in Juilliard School, a perceivably very popular school of ballerinas that is located in New York. In fact, there is a backstory of how she met her husband in a flight, but that's not what we're going to go into right now. It has also been reported that in her household, she has no house helps, she has no maid of any sort, and in fact that she passes out after doing all the domestic chores in the house. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? Anyways, I think the highlight of this issue, what made people go mad on social media, was that on her birthday, she requested that her husband should send her on a trip to Greece. However, her husband got her an egg apron, which kind of solidifies her servitude to the family. I think people got mad at the video because obviously her husband could have afforded the trip to Greece. The family has tons of airlines. She could have gotten a free ticket, but no, the husband got her an egg apron to be specific. Anyways, let's continue hearing what people has to say about this.
If I ask you for a trip to Greece for my birthday and you get me anything other than a trip to Greece for my birthday, especially when our family, can afford not just one trip to Greece, like 50, 100 trips to Greece. And the reason I want a trip to Greece is because I'm exhausted, because I work so hard for the family. I literally bring in millions. And because I don't even have access to my accounts, my husband has access to my accounts. I ask the guy for a trip to Greece for my birthday, and he gets me an apron instead, and not just any regular apron, an apron that can hold eggs, to further cement my role of servitude in the family. I would absolutely, that will be the last straw, the thing that makes me run mad. And if you don't know who I'm talking about the lady from Ballerina Farm, the lady who cosplays being a trad wife on TikTok. Her husband literally got her an apron, full stop, for her birthday. I want to let you know that this lady takes care of 8 kids. The husband refuses to get any help to help her with taking care of the kids. She creates content. She makes almost all of their food from scratch. I'm talking milking cows. And there's an article that was written about it. I think it was in the New York Times, and there's a billion people who've done very good summaries of what the article talks about. But here's what you need to know. This girl was 17 when she got married to this guy. She wanted to date him for a year, and he was just like, that's not gonna work. They got married within a month. 2-3 months into the marriage, she was already pregnant with their first child. She now has 8 children. Her dream was to be a ballerina. That's why it's called Ballerina Farm. This guy literally saw an exotic bird, like if you know that quote from Trevor Noah, and literally wanted to cage it. She was in Juilliard. Do you understand? You don't buy your way into Juilliard. You have to be insanely talented to get into Juilliard. He took her from Juilliard, married her, put her in a farm, and put her to work. Might I also add that for all these 8 kids that she has, she was not allowed to take an epidural other than for one, because her husband was around for all the other births. He did not allow her to take an epidural. It's very easy to come here and be like, she should just leave. Remember how hard it was to live your little situationship or relationship that lasted 6-7 months, 2-3 years that you still talk about to date? And imagine leaving her situation, especially considering her situation started when she was 17. My heart literally breaks for her. And it's so unfortunate that her situation has literally made me understand the moms who sometimes get up and leave their kids. I used to think that it's so wrong. But do you understand, if she got up right now and left, obviously there's the very bad fact that these kids would grow up without a mom, but I promise you that guy would get help now, immediately. because he gets help. When they have date night, he gets help because it's serving his needs. He wants a little date with his wife, so he's going to get help, but completely refuses to get her help for day to day, despite all the millions they have. I also want to tell you that this guy's father owns JetBlue. Like, they own planes. They have money, paper. If she was to get up and leave, I unfortunately have to say that I will understand. I'll be like, I get you. It's difficult. It's a bad situation, but I get you.
That Ballerina Farm article is such a good reminder that no matter how annoying it is to have a job, no matter how annoying it is to, wake up in the morning and be clocking in, there is nothing worse than your money being tied to someone who's like that. It made me so sad to realize that someone who's capable of so much can be conditioned to kind of live like that. And I don't want to infantilize her at all. My main takeaway from the article was, do not parentify your kids. So kids should not be looking after kids when there's like 8-9 of them. Kids should just be a child, look back like, oh yeah, I just played around the park. Like, you should have a lot of help if you have that many kids. And also the second one is, as annoying as a job is, or some sort of way for you to get income or money that is only yours, yeah, you need those resources, that cash flow that is only coming to you, because some other people have speculated that maybe nothing is in her name. We don't know that. But the article itself is just so sad, especially as a woman.
Parentification is a phenomenon where kids have been loaded with the responsibility of taking care of their siblings prematurely, and this could be as a result of so many reasons. Sometimes the couples do have lots of kids in the house. It could also be as a result of lack of care, or maybe family dynamics. It could also be as a result of a mental illness or any sort of disability. Parentification can lead to emotional burden and premature maturity of kids. It could lead to inability to bond properly with the family because there are lots of trauma. It could also lead to anxiety, depression, and any mental illness of any sort. Lastly, parentification can also lead to downgrade in academic abilities. A lot of people have also mentioned that the Ballerina Farm family lifestyle is majorly due to their religion. Just in case you don't know, they are Mormon, and Mormonism is a subset of Christianity. Basically, they have their own set of rules and regulation, but it is geared towards the traditional lifestyle, and they are very, very conservative. Let us hear what people have to say about this Mormonism and its effect in the Ballerina lifestyle.
A lot of people have been talking about the Times article with Ballerina Farm's trad wife, Hannah Neeleman, and I have some things to say about this. Nobody seems to be picking up on the probably most important part of this story, and that is the fact that Hannah is a member of a cult, and that is informing all of these choices that she's making. So yes, the article is heartbreaking, but I don't see it so much as a conversation about feminism. I see it as she is an indoctrinated victim of a large cult, the LDS Church. Why am I qualified to speak on this? Because I also grew up in a cult, a religious Christian cult. There's so much overlap between LDS or Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, which is the cult that I grew up in, that ex-Mormons and ex-JWs refer to each other as cult cousins. In the online community where apostates or, excommunicated disfellowship people from both of those cults gather, like in the Reddit forums, there's so much commonality that we end up reading each other's forums and posting in each other's forums. They're both new American cults that were started in the 19th century by wealthy white con men who had mental illness and thought they were special and being led by God to bring the true religion to people. I haven't seen a single video acknowledging this fact. I have seen women, and I watched a bunch of them yesterday because, who isn't interested in Ballerina Farms? She has this beautiful, precious looking life. But beneath the surface, there is danger lurking. I know a little bit about that because I was also kind of a trad wife. I had 7 children while I was in a cult. This is a woman who is not an autonomous individual. And I've seen women on here saying things like, well, I don't want to speak about her life because she is a grown woman. She is an autonomous person. She has free will. She's making choices. No, she isn't. No, she isn't. She is being indoctrinated and has been indoctrinated since the day she was born into the Mormon cult. Okay? She's not making choices that are informed. She's being told that she has to obey her husband. And it's so clear when you read the article. The reporter pointed out every time that the man interrupted her, every time that he spoke for her, every time in their lives when clearly he is pulling strings and making choices that are not best for her long-term well-being, whether financially, whether physically. I mean, she's going to keep popping out a baby every year until her womb falls out, until she has prolapse, or until she breaks down. One of the most recent videos that I saw that she posted, it was something like 11 days postpartum. She just gave birth. She just gave birth, and she's getting ready to go and do a pageant. She's going to get a spray tan, and she just gave birth 11 days ago. That is not healthy, and it is not safe. It simply is not safe. It is not best for her well-being. And the fact that this man is the heir to the blue jet billions, but he won't hire a housekeeper or a nanny to help her out when she has 8 children? No. She's being told that she has to obey the man in the room. She has to obey her husband. That's what she's been taught her entire life from the moment that she was born. And not only does she have to obey him now that he's her husband, but she had to obey him when they were just dating and engaged, because in her mind, he already owns her. He's her husbandly owner, according to the scriptures. You don't understand, unless you've been in a cult, you don't understand the patriarchy and the misogyny that exists in these new American Christian cults, okay? The woman is not making informed choices. And if she's extremely lucky, her life will not blow up if she's extremely lucky. The article also said that she was so exhausted at times that her husband reports that she sometimes spends an entire week in bed. We're watching an abusive system happening in front of our eyes because of her notoriety online, because of her social media platform, which is her. Let's just tell the truth. People are watching her because she's a beautiful blonde white woman with this beautiful aesthetic cottage core with all these beautiful little babies that she's pumping out every year. That's why people are watching, but it's a lie, because underneath the surface there is danger. If everything works out perfectly for this woman, the worst that will have happened was that she gave up her dreams of being a Juilliard-trained ballerina, which was her dream. This man comes in and love bombs her, proposes marriage within a month. She wants to date for a year. No, he's not going to respect her boundaries. He's not going to let her finish school. He's not going to let her live out her dream. She admits in the article that it wasn't her dream to have all these kids. So this man comes and love bombs her, and then they get married, which again, you have to understand what dating and courtship are like in a cult. It is not normal. It is not a normal trajectory. First of all, everything is rushed because, God forbid, they fornicate before they're married. They'd get in trouble with the cult. They would be shamed, okay? There's all of this pressure to marry quickly before you have sex. So she was feeling all of this pressure from her community and her church, knowing that if she made a mistake and had sex with this guy, she might get excommunicated or whatever they call it in the Mormon church. I mean, all cults are the same. It's just the details that differ. But I can tell you from experience what it's like. They destroy normality around dating and relationships. So there's all this pressure to get married right away to the first guy that shows you some attention so that you stay safe, because the scriptures say that, the woman will stay safe from horrible things like gossip by having lots of babies. And so in the Mormon church, it's different from JW in that they believe that, they need to have lots of babies because don't you want those souls to be born into a Mormon household? She's not making autonomous choices. She isn't. She is indoctrinated. She is in a cult. Just because the LDS church has twice the numbers of Jehovah's Witnesses doesn't make it any less of a cult. It's absolutely a cult. All the occult experts agree. It is a high control religious group. So why aren't we talking about that more? I haven't seen a single video where somebody is talking about this. Just because she's an adult and an intelligent woman does not mean that she's making choices from free will. She isn't. We need to stop saying that.
I was a Mormon trad wife. So reading that article was really heartbreaking. I understand the indoctrination that both Hannah and Daniel have experienced to get them to the point of where they are. One of the things that is the most heartbreaking, right, is Hannah had these dreams and goals and ambitions to be a ballerina. And it wasn't just this, like, she was at Juilliard. She was on the pathway to reach her dreams. But the article says they met at a basketball game and he wanted to date her and he's like, sign me up. And like, sign you up for what? This woman isn't interested in you. She's a human being. Her opinion matters, right? But that's not the culture. And patriarchy reinforces this idea, right? And so he manipulates his way into her life. He buys a seat on his daddy's airplane when she's trying to get away from Utah to go to New York City to pursue her dreams. And he grabs onto her coattails and says, oops, too bad, you can't have your dreams because my dream is to get you to be my wife. Which he does, and we can't take away, we have to think about agency here, but let's put that into the context of what kind of agency a Mormon woman has in reality, right? And what kind of agency a woman who is raised under patriarchy has. So she's like, so they start dating and he wants to get married right away. And she's like, no, I need to go to school. And he's somehow has convinced her not. And so they get married. And then 3 months later, she is pregnant. And so her dreams right there are sealed. Like her fate is sealed. And then she doesn't really have access to family planning, that their family plan is to pray about it. And that's clearly some very deeply held religious beliefs, which is also religious indoctrination. And why do I say that? Well, because I was religiously indoctrinated. So, right? So when we married, the day we got married, I said, I don't want to have children for 5 years. I want to finish my education and start my career. But we got married in the Washington, D.C. temple, and they have a cafeteria there. So we made it a weekly date to go there every week. And we did this because of the indoctrination of the church of being like, okay, going to the temple is where you get blessings and you can get answers to your prayers and you can feel closer to your ancestors, right? And so it's all of these things. And we thought, oh, well, we need blessings. We're just starting out in life. Well, in the temple, they have, they focus on the story of the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. And we know the story. Eve partakes of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil and then gets kicked out. And then they say, okay, Eve, your punishment is to have pain during childbirth. And then they're told to multiply and replenish the earth. But then Mormons take it a step further and they covenant to be wives and mothers. So the temple reinforces these ideas that women's value is only held in reproducing and in being wives and mothers. And so much so that you covenant to do these things. So in my practice of going to the temple on a weekly basis, it got in my head. And within 3 to 4 months, I was like, hey, love, I think I have to have children. And I was like, I've been fighting this and I've been fighting this, but the Lord is telling me I have to have children. So we did, because, that's just to show you how indoctrination can work and influence decisions on family reproduction and when and how to have children. I became a stay-at-home mom after that and did many of the same things that Hannah does because that's just really what trad wives do. it seems reductive to say she's a victim of her community and her raising and her upbringing, but there is a lot of truth to that. After reading the article, I jumped into my academic mindset and I analyzed the hell out of it. I analyzed it from a sociological, a religious, and a gender perspective, and I started making a series of videos about that. And I'm in the editing process, and I sound like a professor, which is fine because that's what my training is. That's what I was going to do before I got sick. So I will probably edit those today, and if the deep dive into Ballerina Farm and how she got to this point and the religious doctrines that brought her to that point. So it's kind of like, I don't know, sociology of gender, sociology of religion 101. I don't know. It's a deep dive. It's important to look at the broader social context of tradwife content and how the idealization of women's roles and how it constrains them to the home sphere and takes them out of the public sphere, even though it's kind of a contradiction in tradwife content. It has broader social implications, and I can draw the lines from dot to dot on how tradwife content actually leads to Christian nationalism and our policies, and even to Project 2025. So if that interests you, follow the buttons, because that's what I'm spending my afternoon doing, is editing those videos and getting them ready to post. But I think this article was a good wake-up call, is to take a good look at behind tradwife content, Ballerina Farm, and to look and see how women are commodified and manipulated to serve men's larger purpose.
I want to talk about Ballerina Farm and why that family is the way it is. I have a little bit of insight into this because I was raised Mormon. So I was raised in the same cult that Hannah has been raised in. There are a lot of conversations going on about, trad wives, and they choose this life, and, they're grown women and they can do what they want. But I don't think people realize that young men and women are indoctrinated from birth into the Mormon church, okay? I'm no longer practicing. I haven't been for a very long time, but I remember it all. I was there, We are taught at a very, very young age what our roles are and how we are going to get into heaven. And on top of that, we are taught how to remain with our eternal family, because that is the end goal, right? Our time on earth, from a Mormon's perspective, is servitude. It is building your stairway to heaven, literally. And as a woman, your job is to build the army of God. That's it. You have a uterus and you are there to populate the earth with as many Mormons as you can to help build his army. And every child that you bear, the man that you choose to marry, or is chosen for you in certain families, they are to become your eternal family. And if you want to be with them in eternity, you have to live by a certain set of rules, okay? All of your family needs to be active members in the church. When I left the church, my mom was devastated, and I didn't really realize why it was such a big deal to her until later on in life, when I found out that the reason she kept sending sisters and brothers to my house to try and tell me how much they missed me and how welcome I would be to come back to church was because she was terrified of losing me as part of her eternal family. Okay, that's what they're told. You are told that in order to live in the kingdom of heaven with your eternal family, you must keep everyone together. We must all practice. We must all live in servitude. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. Did you know that when a Mormon couple is married in the church, they're bound to each other, okay? But they're not just bound together in life, they are bound together in eternity. If she were to leave him, she would still be bound to him. It doesn't matter, divorce or not, you are still bound to that man. However, she would lose access to her children in eternity. Okay? They would no longer be hers. They are his. They belong to him. If she were to find some other love and remarry, she would not be able to bind herself in eternity to that new husband until her old one relinquished that bond. So technically, a man could go and marry as many people as he wants, and he is bound to all of those women. They are bound to him. Yeah? They get divorced. It doesn't matter. Those women are still bound to him. So he could live out his eternity with hundreds of wives if he wanted to. I mean, we've heard this echoed in so many cults, and this is no different. So, I mean, there are so many things. I mean, my mom was a hoarder. She was a proper hoarder, but mainly of food, because as a Mormon, you're taught that it's so important to stockpile and to have enough for the second coming, to have enough for the apocalypse, whatever they're calling it these days. That's what that farm is. They are building the stockpiles for the army of God should the apocalypse happen. And I know to somebody outside of the religion, it sounds cuckoo crazy pants, because it is cuckoo crazy pants. Like, it's mental. But when you're talking about this, you need to understand that from the day she was born, she was told that it is her job, her duty, to bear children and to be in servitude to God, to her husband. And I guarantee you there are a whole host of priesthood members surrounding that family. I do wonder if her husband's in the priesthood, but I reckon there is a whole host of very high, powerful men in the church who are within the priesthood who are constantly telling her. So if they're having some kind of marital problems or anything like that, they're sitting down with a high level man within the church who is going to then tell her, this is how we get into heaven, that this is just our physical bodies are nothing. They are there to be put up for the Lord, to work in servitude of the Lord, to build your way into heaven, to spend eternity with your eternal family that you have created here on earth. Like, it's so much deeper than she's just promoting traditional values. This is the stuff that's been told to her whole life by everyone around her. If she were to leave, she could lose access to her parents. She could lose access to her brothers and sisters. She could lose access to her children, not just in this physical life, but in eternity. For a Mormon, that is terrifying. For a devout Mormon, that is terrifying. I feel really sad for all the women in religions like this. I was lucky enough to get out, and I stayed out. But trust me, they keep coming. They used to show up at my door with trays of cookies and cupcakes and tell me how much they missed me and how much they wanted me back at church. And maybe I could just come in one Sunday and sit in young women's or whatever class they had going on, Rebecca's, I feel sad for her because it's too easy to say this is her choice, because there's so much more to it.
I do not think I am the right person to talk in-depthly about Mormonism, their faiths, beliefs, and all the intricacies that are involved in the religion. This is because I have never met one. I have never come into contact with any Mormon. I am not a Mormon, and I've never experienced it at all. So anyways, just in case you have, or you know someone, or you used to be a Mormon, you can put it down in the comment section down below. Let us hear what you have to say. A lot of people have also stated categorically that they do not share in our sentiments, or they do not have any atom of pity for Hannah Newman. This is because she is a blown-ass woman who made a choice of becoming a traditional wife, and that we are reading too much meaning into it. What do you think about this? Also, some people mentioned that the interview was kind of blown out of proportion and it is not what people have made it to be. Let us watch some of the video.
But she was a ballerina. Okay, we all give up shit for motherhood. Like, welcome to the club. I'm having a really hard time getting on the sympathy bus for this one. We're talking about a beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, rich white woman in the country of the United States of America. Like, why are you guys acting as if this woman is facing some sort of adversity that humanity has never seen before? She's married to a jerk. Now, I don't know the guy, but allegedly he stripped her of her dreams of being a ballerina. She was at Juilliard, whatever. I mean, it definitely takes two to tango. I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, I feel that bad for her because she married a rich man, and I guess, you know, what's the saying, like, marry a rich man and he'll make you work for every penny? Like, whatever. She made her bed, she's sleeping in it. Like, if she's okay with it, you guys should be too. Like, for crying out loud, this woman has a $12,000 stove. Like, she's gonna be fine. Like, literally, no matter what, she'll be A-okay. She probably, like, a little burnt out. Is she probably a little stressed out? Like, sure. But I'm not about to sit here and act like I have this overwhelming sense of sympathy for this lady. I don't. Does it, like, suck to be married to, like, an asshole? I mean, she didn't even say that. This is just what we're all assuming because he gave her an egg apron instead of tickets to Greece. But, you know, I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to have a very unpopular opinion on the Ballerina farm controversy. And I will probably be dragged through the mud for this. But she chose this life. She chose the trad wife life. She chose to marry someone that they were both in agreement that they should have 8 children and spend tons of money on expensive kitchenware and present a fairly false idea of what it is to be a woman or a mother to TikTok. She is capitalized off of the traditional wife aesthetic. So why are we suddenly feeling sympathy when her husband didn't get her tickets to Greece? She can afford to buy them herself. They've capitalized off of her being in the kitchen. So why are we suddenly sympathizing and giving her all kinds of support? She chose to give up her own dreams to be a mom. There are other women that don't do that. So what's with this sympathy? I don't understand it.
At the end of the day, I don't think the Ballerina farm is crying out for our help for us to save her. Guys, she's good. Like, come on, let's be real here. If she were in a situation where she needed help, she has the resources to get out, okay? That girl is financially secure, and if she were to leave that man tomorrow, she would be okay. I don't know, maybe let's start putting our energy towards people that actually need help, you know, like people that don't have money and family and support and friends. You know, I don't know.
I don't know if the story was blown into proportion or this is exactly how she feels about her family. But what I can say is that as women, we should be able to challenge societal and religious norms that restrict women, especially the ones that do not allow women to be free and have financial independence, and most importantly, to be able to make life choices that benefit them. We should also preach the gospel of empowering women. That's one I am very sure of, because all around the world, in different continents, there are a lot of women who have the same or not or even worse story of this ballerina farm family, and they do not have access to interviews, they do not have access to quality education, they do not have access to the internet to be able to voice their story. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please do share your thoughts and opinion in the comment section down below. My name is Sandra, and I will see you next time. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share if you care. Bye.